You are listening to Shameless Stories, and I'm Nicola Humber, founder of the Unbound Press, soul-led publishing company for magical women writing world-changing books. And we are delighted to be the sponsor of this podcast. So enjoy, magical one.
Welcome to another episode of Shameless Stories, the podcast that aims to lift the lid on all things shame and bring on some amazing people that have looked it in the eye and stepped right through it or right past it, whatever, however. I'm really excited to introduce my next guest. Eli Natoli is with me today. I was speaking to Australia this morning. I've got the US with me tonight. This is amazing. I'm so excited. And we've just had a little conversation about kind of what you do. You've had a really varied career. Like, I'm going to actually let you introduce yourself because I don't think I'm going to do it justice, but I'm just really excited. Like, you've gone from being in ultrasound to marketing strategy. Tell me all about it. Tell me about the journey.
Yeah, I've done all types of things, changed careers so many times, which actually is very tightly close to the topic that we're going to talk about, this journey that I have taken from being in medical field and going into programming and project management, working in software design and development companies. And then now here I am as a marketing strategist. But essentially, from as long as I remember myself, I wanted to be a doctor. That was just like my passion. And I came to United States. I'm from Iran, actually. And there was a revolution that happened, and we were kind of in chaos for years. And then we ended up in US by the time that I was 14 years old, 14, 15 years old. But I was just really, really book smart. And I didn't even speak English when I came to US, but by the time I was graduating from high school, my name was published in the dean's list of like the top 1,000 students in the dean's list. So I had the passion, I had the potential of, going into medical field and becoming a doctor. But somewhere along the year before I graduated from high school, I got involved in a relationship that ended up being very abusive. And the dynamic of abusive relationships is just so, so complex and that we can't even really, I mean, when someone goes through it, they kind of understand the complexities, but from the outside is like, well, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you do that? It is not that simple. And I was very naive. I was 17 years old, didn't really have an understanding of what was happening to me. And it's not like drastic things. It's like little by little and by little. And all of a sudden you find yourself in this relationship and you just can't get out of it. Mm. So long story short, one of the biggest things that came about was, well, if you can't go to medical school, you can't be doing that. Now, he had no intention of going to college. And his biggest fear was that, because abuse is all about control. His biggest fear was like, if I go to medical school and I become a doctor, I mean, not even getting there, I'm going to move, this relationship will be done. And so, I gave up that dream. At the time, I convinced myself, nah, it's okay. I never wanted to be a doctor anyways. And then I kind of I thought, okay, I still want to be in a medical field. And so I went in for a 2-year program to become an ultrasound technician to sort of make him happy and then still be in the medical field as well. And eventually, after almost 18 years of being in that relationship, and I wasn't really happy, and I changed careers and went into computer field because at the time you could work from home because it wasn't really, I wanted to be a doctor. And every day it was like really breaking my heart that I'm in this field, that I'm around people who are living the life that I wanted to live. So I just left it behind, went into IT so that I can just raise my kids from home, which I'm really happy that I had that opportunity to do it. But then eventually, after like 18 years, I was able to leave that marriage. Thank God. Take my 2 kids and leave. I was in my late 30s, 37 years old. And it took me several years to kind of find my bearings and kind of find myself and get my life back together. But eventually, when everything was kind of settled and, when you get out of that survival mode, then now you're thinking about yourself. What do I want out of life? What do I want to do? And then all those feelings rush back. Like, I want to be a doctor. And I really, for a lot of, in a lot of ways, I felt that, obviously the timing had passed. And I felt like, no matter how I'm going to go through my life, this life was wasted, you know? And of course, all the shame that I went through because, and I now I'm like talking to people about what has happened to me because during all those time, I would tell people like everything's fine, make up excuses for him. Even, I mean, he controlled everything, the finances, and of course, it was like verbal and physical. And I would show up like bruises on my face. It's like, oh, I fell down, or I ran into doors. So it's just making up excuses.
Oh, yeah.
And but deep down, here I am, I'm the breadwinner in the house. I'm intelligent. Outside, I have a career. I'm successful, even though I didn't end up being a doctor. But, behind closed doors, I'm a nobody. I'm someone that is being treated like this. And there's just so much that you carry with yourself, as you go through that and you come out of it. And so here I am on the other side of it, and I feel like my life has no meaning anymore because I lost my opportunity. And I tell you, Sarah, I mean, this feeling was so deep. I would wake up some nights and I would feel like someone's like choking me because it's like I had this dream. I like that was my life purpose. And really the main point of this conversation today is, and that I'm really excited to talk about is this. Eventually, what I found out, and this is a conversation that I have with a lot of entrepreneurs on a daily basis, is this. We all think that, our life, like there's this one path for us. Like, either I'm on the right path of living my purpose or we're not. And we put so much pressure and weight on ourselves in terms of like, I have to figure it out. I have to figure out what my life purpose is.
Yeah.
But in reality, purpose has nothing to do with that because now when I look back, and this kind of dawned on me almost a decade ago, which is everything that has made me to who I am as a person. And every desire that I had, from childhood to becoming a doctor, whether the fact that I was very empathetic or the desire to care for people or to have that impact, I brought all of that into what I do. Okay. And it's coincidentally like people call me marketing doctor. They do it, not me. Okay. And coincidentally, I mean, if you ask my clients, the top things they tell me is like, you would never find anyone more empathetic in terms of how, she partners with you and she cares for you and how invested she is in like your long-term success and the impact that you got to make. And those are the same personalities and beliefs and values and the everything that made me who I am. And so that's really the conversation that I'm excited to have today about purpose and about, it's not just one thing and it is just accumulation. We can bring that into whatever it is that we're doing, into whatever career that we're in, or if you're an entrepreneur, into whatever it is that your solution, the way you work with people, and live a life that feels on point, on purpose, and it feels fulfilling to you. So I'm going to be quiet now.
No, I'm I'm going with the flow of the story. And I, just to honor your candor around, what happened to you and how you must have felt, because you're not going to be alone in that, right? There's going to be people listening that feel that they've gotten to a point in their lives where they've missed the opportunity that they really, like you say, you had this dream, you thought you'd missed that opportunity, but actually what's happened is this opportunity, you have actually fulfilled that opportunity. You have become the doctor. It's just not what you expected. And I think that's the other thing. There's humans, we put so much emphasis on expectation. And like you say, we think we've got this idea in our head that this is how it's going to go. And then when it doesn't go that way, we get disappointed or frustrated or angry or whatever. And, you know, there's also the outside world where people shame you because you didn't do what you said you were going to do or whatever else that is. And I, you know, it's so powerful what you just shared. Like, just wanted to reflect that back to you. And like it's so amazing that you, I mean, the tenacity that you have had to like build 3 effective careers over the course of that time, and you know, bring up children, and then you were still thinking that you hadn't kind of met your dream or reached your purpose or whatever. And like, it must be so lovely to look back on your life and go, actually, wow. And
I think for me, I mean, you're absolutely right, though. You know, a lot of people, I think, either searching because they're going through life, and no matter what they've accomplished, that's the hard part. No matter what they've accomplished, no matter what they're doing, they still feel like I haven't reached that. Like I'm not on my life purpose. I'm not doing something that I was supposed to do, and they keep searching and searching, or for whatever reason, opportunities don't happen for them. Like something happens that it derails them, and now that boat has sailed, that ship has sailed, and they're like they just live there in sorrow. Like I can't, you know, for whatever reason now I can't do it. And like you said, the reality is, and for me, it just didn't like happen overnight, like snap your finger. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually living my life purpose. But eventually, you know, just from the feedback that I was getting from clients, number one, I realized that because maybe it's because of the nature of the job, my work, right? Because what I do with clients, and I'm going to give you an example. Like yesterday, I had a conversation with a prospect who's now a client. And she's a therapist, retired, and she has this magnificent gift that she brings into the world. And for the past 5 years, she's tried to turn it into a business. And so we had a conversation initially, and she was telling me, you know, when I talk to people and I try to tell them what this is, and I, you know, for the privacy reasons, I don't want to get into the details of it.
Please.
But she's like, when I, you know, when I try to explain to people what it is, I just get blank, you know, stares. No one gets it.
Yeah.
And so on the surface, the conversation we were having yesterday was messaging and positioning. Okay. So for me to understand what she brings into the market, right? Like what's going on, what this solution is, I was asking her a lot of questions. And then eventually I kind of like holding up a mirror, reflected back to her. I said, so you're telling me the people who are going to want your solution are going through XYZ, and they've tried ABC solutions and it hasn't worked because of these reasons. And your solution is the perfect answer to what's going on with them because of these reasons. And when they go through your solution, they're going to get this outcome. It's just one sentence, right? And she looked at me, she goes, oh my gosh, like that's perfect. That's perfect. You know, I can't, you know, and I said, well, this is just, I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I mean, that's not really messaging and positioning. There's like many, many, many layers, but
Course, yeah, but
essentially,
yeah.
yeah, that's what it is. And I'm sharing this story because when we started this conversation, several times she said to me, you know what? I don't know if I even need to do this. I'm retired. And maybe it's this solution is stupid. Maybe nobody wants it. You know, once we kind of got there, and really what I was reflecting back to her was her, the gifts, that her personality. Some of it was the things that she had been through in life,
Yeah.
that she was solving the problem, right? Each of us, especially as you know, as entrepreneurs, we go through our solutions based on a lot of things that makes us who we are. I just brought all of that and put it into one neat sentence. She's like, you could see like her entire face just lit up like Christmas tree. And she's like, in her words, she's like, I am so fired up. I'm passionate. Like the person who not even half an hour before was like, I don't even know. And now he's like, I am so passionate about this. You're right. I'm gonna like she was like so fired up. And that's really the point of hopefully I'm trying to do the good job of making this point, which is when when we try to understand who we are and bring our gifts, because every single one of us have unique ways that we go through this life and we solve the problem, whether it's through a career or through our business, and we get like really clear about what that is, that immediately we are living a fulfilled life
Yeah,
because we are expressing our gifts and our purpose at the highest level.
I love
You know
that.
what I mean?
I mean, it's so. I mean, I go through a similar exercise with the PR aspect of things. So I completely like we're so on the same wavelength. It's like scary actually, but it's so interesting when you actually are able to kind of you see the pieces slot into the jigsaw puzzle that they've you're able to put them into and create the picture for them, and they can see for themselves like how magical they are, or how amazing, and everything has contributed to that. So that's what this podcast is about. It's about there's going to be parts of there's stories that have make us who we are, and we hide those stories because we think that those stories don't matter, but that's what all of those things make us who we are. The
Oh,
good, the bad, the
absolutely.
ugly, the great, the everything. It all matters. It might not all be relevant, but it's all had a part to play in the individual that's sitting right in front of me right now. So I completely understand what you're saying, and I love that. I love that you're doing that, and you were able to do that for that woman who has now no doubt gone away feeling inspired and passionate and clear about what she's here to do. And people like yourself, so yeah, it's just lovely to meet you and hear like your own story and how you've traveled through those things and had to get we all have to go through our journeys to get there. With regards to so the shame piece, I'd love to dive into a little bit around that. You touched on it very briefly. How does shame kind of show up for you, or has it shown up for you? Was it something that might have stopped you in your tracks perhaps, or how
Yeah.
did you
Yeah,
how did you wrestle
absolutely.
the beast?
I mean, it has even to this day, it has haunted me, all of that shame that I've carried. And for me, a lot of it was a combination of just the shame itself and also losing myself in the process, losing my own self-identity of like, who am I really? And kind of adopting another personality of what the other person is telling me who I am, and all, tearing me down on a consistent basis. But with all that scars and the shame that I kind of was like living this double life and like feeling like I'm not adequate, I'm not enough, as well as, hiding all of these pieces. And then finally, I mean, while I was going through all of that, it was just so much chaos that I didn't even have, when you're in survival mode, you can't really make sense out of anything. But the real shame really happens when you're out of it, on the other side of it, when you're out of the survival mode, and then you kind of put everything under question of your sanity, the type of person that you are. Like, what kind of person would allow something like this happen to you?
Yeah.
And it's just like everything about you, and also trying to figure out what like why did this happen, has to happen to me, of all the people, like why did this happen to me? So there's a lot of that. And of course, on top of that is just trying to figure out whether or not you're even worthy, and what some of it is unspoken, like especially when I stepped into entrepreneurship, I had a really hard time with visibility.
Yeah.
You know, I had a really hard time with visibility, and I couldn't understand why that was. I was like so afraid of getting ridiculed, so afraid of being called out, like, oh, she's fake, she doesn't know what she's talking about, or just I played it safe for so long, and all of that came as a result of how I was feeling about myself. Um, I don't think, I mean, that type of trauma that I went through, especially because as long as it went for 18 years, it's not something like you kind of shake it off and you're like, oh, I'm good now. I'm going to put on this
Of course,
other,
yeah.
you know,
Would
my
be nice.
superhero cape on and I'm going to go live my life. But you know, it takes time. It takes layers and layers. And there are days that like they kind of rushes back and it's like, why did this happen? Although it's just becoming fainter and fainter and fainter. But I mean, it manifests the way that I kind of worked through it and came out of it. It kind of, it depends on what part of my life it kind of happened differently.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like entrepreneurship part of things, the biggest thing that really helped me, and I actually talk about this a lot to my clients because visibility in general, there's a lot, it's very complex for women. I don't know why that is. There's a lot of like, uh, I don't know why majority of women are so afraid of being visible. I mean, I know the answer, but it's just, I wish it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the biggest thing that changed, it wasn't that I had a vehicle to work through the shame itself, but it was a fact that eventually I realized what I do is so needed. And I felt like it is my obligation to do this job, to do this work. It's just because I come at it very, very differently. So a lot of the stuff that I do with my clients, I did for myself to dig out like why do I do it this way, and what do I, what I think about how you grow your business and your revenue and all that stuff. And I felt like more people need to hear this. And
Yeah.
so I kind of saw it as an obligation, and that gave me it's just enough courage to like the courage or the willingness or the desire, I would say, of doing that kind of outweighed the shame that was I was carrying around. So I don't think I had like a per se a vehicle or a tool or a way to work through that. I don't think, but it was just looking at it from a different perspective and trying to put it behind me and just move on with
Yeah.
the things that were going great for me in life.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean, I think, like you say, it's you're probably getting it with your clients as well, in that where clients struggle with visibility and struggle with sharing stories because they are, there's lots of different reasons why, especially women don't share, because they don't want to be torn down by another woman, or they don't want to be ridiculed by a partner or a friend or whatever. There's just so many different reasons, and that we're not enough, we don't deserve it, we're not, there's the stories that we tell ourselves that you have to work through, I suspect, with your clients to kind of get them to really see how amazing they are. I mean, that in itself is working with shame, because a lot of people don't want to be visible because of it,
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
what comes with it. But yeah, I love that you're doing this in marketing, because I mean, yeah, it's so needed right now. And I think so many women entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast, you need to go check out Ellie right now. Is there anything you would like to leave, any words of wisdom you'd like to share, anything we can wrap up today? 'Cause
Absolutely.
you've already shared so much, but it would be great to have some, like, yeah.
Of course, absolutely. I guess what I could share, and it kind of piggyback on what you just said as well. This is the first time that I'm sharing my backstory in this context altogether. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is you don't, if you've been through something that, you just don't want to tell the world about you don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody's asking. Like I'm personally, not saying like you have to talk about everything in order for you to kind of be able to be authentic or whatever words that we use, that gets circulated in marketing world, in the online world.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that, but the work itself is very, very crucial. Because what we don't realize, and I've seen this firsthand with so many people, I've had clients who, when it came to, for example, we worked so hard and then we're getting ready to launch, she ended up in a hospital and with this mysterious illness. And then she got better 3 months later, comes back, we work through it again, and then she ends up in a hospital again. And I've seen variations. I mean, that's very extreme. I understand that. Variations of this happening to a lot of people. Like, we don't realize the things that we carry and we don't really put it into the right places, how those influence our decisions, the way that we show up, how we do, what we do. It really it influences everything. We might not be really vigilant or aware of it. So that's one part of it. The other part of that is when you work through it, out of everything that we've gone through, something amazing came out of it too. We just might not be aware of it. Okay. And so if you don't do this work, you don't realize, you're not going to be very aware of, oh, wow, like I have this gift because of what I went through. I now have a different understanding or different viewpoints or a different, it's just all around way of doing something because of what I went through. And so it is essential to kind of go back and to do this work and to see like who are you as a whole, and that the person that makes up you, that package, get an understanding of who that person is. Because I guarantee you, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in a career, you are doing what you're doing is not an accident. It is not an accident. A lot of everything, your personality, your upbringing, everything you've been through, your career choices, your values, your beliefs, which a lot of times get handed down through the things that we've been through, all of that has made you to who you are. And who you are today might change tomorrow. We are all evolving, hopefully, and we are changing for the better. So it is so essential to do this work.
I love that. Oh, amazing. Oh. Thank you so much for that share. That was really powerful. And if you want to if people want to find you, how can they find you?
So my website is the best place, elinatoli.com. And if your audience, they're interested in doing some of this work that we talk about, like the exercises that I take my clients through, my book, which is now for free, Service First Framework, the first section of it does that. It takes you through all of these questions to kind of uncover who you are and then marry that into what you do before you start thinking about your marketing altogether. So on my website, elinatoli.com//elevate, you can grab a free copy.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm loving the synergies between our work. It's so powerful. And thank you again for coming on. And thank you, listeners, for listening. We'll be back next week for another episode of Shameless Stories.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.